Oh, that is so much better.
I think it's probably better to not make a mess. Alright, there we go. Now it's flowing.
This is kind of what I thought the rear would look like, but I don't know if you can see.
So this plate goes under the carburetor. This would have been some sort of EGR system, which is making me start to question a couple things, because I do not believe this truck would have come with an EGR system.
Welcome to the third installment in our F250 series. Got a couple problems I'm going to tackle. Number one is the snow plow. So here's the predicament I'm in. The snow plow is in the bed of the truck. The guy I bought it from, he delivered it for me, which was super cool. And this was how he was able to get it up on his trailer, is put the plow in the bed. Otherwise the truck was too long. So he used a piece of heavy equipment. I don't happen to have any heavy equipment, so I am using the Hillbilly heavy equipment, and got it hooked up with the tow strap and, you know, drive the truck out from under it. Now, just a quick disclaimer, this is not the right way to do this, so don't try this at home, but this is the way I'm going to do it. If it works, it ain't stupid. Enough spot. We can store it there for now until winter hits. Got enough room to pull the truck right up to it.
Alright, the next important thing we need to do is fix the speedometer. It doesn't work at all, and I found that out driving, and then I got pulled over and got a speeding ticket because I didn't know how fast I was going. But almost more important than knowing how fast we're going, we need to know how many miles we traveled so that we can keep up on our maintenance intervals. Dan from New Guy's Garage really doesn't care about maintenance intervals, and somehow his vehicles are still together and working. Don't quite understand that. I feel like every time that happens to me, things kind of fall apart. So yeah, we're gonna get this speedometer and odometer working. It's important.
Well, I suspected there was something up with the speedometer cable, and I was right. This is our speedometer cable hanging out right here. It looks like it's just been cut off, but that's supposed to be really long and go all the way to the speedometer. So I'm gonna get my wrench here and get that clip off, and we'll get this out, and then we'll go to the parts store and get a new speedometer cable. Well, there it is. That's the end of the speedometer cable, the little gear that runs it. And there's a little bolt holding the keeper in.
Well, just on the way to the parts store, started pouring down rain. Heard a little bit of thunder. So that it was really hot earlier today, so this actually feels pretty nice. I'm gonna put the new speedometer cable in anyway. Alrighty, so here's our new cable. This end goes into the transfer case. This end goes to the speedometer itself. But there's one piece we need off the old one. This part. This is our little gear. This goes on the end here. And we put our little clip back on there. And that should when we rotate this, it should rotate this other piece too. And it does. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that's how that speedometer cable works. It spins this cable in the sleeve, and it spins the speedometer like that. Okay, so I did seem to find the other end of the speedometer cable. It was shoved in the firewall right above the brake booster there, and goes down there. So we'll see where the other end of this is and what it looks like. I'm sure it's just cut off. So I pulled out this entire old speedometer cable, and it's not cut off. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they tried to replace it at some point. Maybe it's not the original transfer case in the truck. I don't know. This is an entire speedometer cable. This is the wrong kind. It's just kind of fed down in there. So anyway, I've got the new one fed into the firewall now and kind of laying down there. I'm gonna go ahead and take the dash apart a little bit so I can pull the speedometer out, plug that cable in. I tried to reach up behind there and get it. It's just kind of tight, so I'm gonna make it easier on myself. Okay, I should be able to just take these screws out, and this dash should fall forward. Gauge cluster out. Now this. Lots of thunder. Just like that. Well, there's a problem with our speedometer cable. This is our new one.
This is the one I pulled out of the truck. And this one is about 82 or 83 inches long. This one is about 100 inches long. Quite a bit longer. All of the cables I was able to find labeled for this truck were about 82 to 83 inches. But it's definitely way too short. I tried to install it, did not go far enough. So I started doing some research. I read this book, the sections that were applicable, and didn't find any information. Went online and just searched I probably spent 2 or 3 hours searching the internet for information on this speedometer cable. And I finally came up with some old forum posts from years and years ago where somebody had the same problem, and they were able to find one and they listed a part number. So I searched the part number and I found one and I ordered it and it's on its way here, but it was literally 5 times the price of these other speedometer cables. It's literally the only one I could find online for sale. And so it hurt, but I ordered it. From what I can tell, all the 82 to 83 inch ones are for the 2-wheel drive pickup trucks. The 4-wheel drive ones, I guess, in 1968, it was just kind of a special order thing, and they used a couple different transfer cases and all that is just not that common, so they just don't make reproduction ones as often. So if you are looking for a speedometer cable for 67 through, I think 70 is when they changed 4-wheel drive pickup, the speedometer cable is about 103 inches long total, and I will put the part number right here that I bought. I'll also put the part number down in the description, and hopefully that helps somebody out. Oh, one last thing. There were some people on the forums that had custom speedometer cables made, so that is also an option, but I don't know where you'd do that. While we wait for our speedometer cable to come in the mail, we have these gaskets to replace as well. Got the rocker cover gasket, valve cover gasket, and the oil pan gasket. I think I might wait on the oil pan gasket until I change the oil next, but I'm going to replace these other two. But the first thing I want to do before we start replacing these gaskets is start degreasing the engine. I'm gonna spray degreaser all over here, let it soak, scrub it a bit, rinse it off, and repeat until we have a clean engine. Alright, we got our degreaser in the sprayer. Time to spray the engine. Well, as you can see, our engine cleaned up quite nicely. I got the majority of the old oil and dirt off, and it would be nice to paint this engine where there's paint missing, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. The main thing we're going to worry about is the gasket on the rocker cover, which is this cover here, this gasket right along there, and then also the valve cover, which is this cover right here, and that seal right there. Maybe there's different names for these, but that's what I call them: rocker cover, valve cover. Another thing is, taking these covers off should give us an idea of how well this engine was taken care of. It'll give us an idea of how much sludge is in there, if any, and then, yeah, it's just a good thing to know. So I'm going to go ahead and start removing these covers and putting the new gaskets on.
looks like. Alright, there it is. Wow. Looks really good. Well, as you can see, everything up here on the top end actually looks really good, really clean. No sludge at all. So, yeah, I think we've got a really good, really well taken care of vehicle overall. I'm really impressed with how good this looks and how good the transmission looked and all that. Let's get the gasket all set up in here with some gasket maker, get the rocker cover back on, then we'll go to the side valve cover. Okay, now we have everything put back together, and we can just about guarantee this cover won't leak anymore. The old gasket was old. It was actually rubber, which is better than cork. I did just put a cork gasket in it, but the rubber ones are nice. But this old rubber one, it came off in pieces and it's all cracked and stuff, so definitely not really any good anymore. Let's go ahead and get this side cover off and get to that gasket. We'll have to remove the coil, but I think that's the only thing we're going to have to remove. This cover off. Was it too hard? Yeah. That also looks really good. this side cover that I was calling the valve cover, according to the label, it's called a push rod cover. So the push rod cover, I replaced all the little rubber seals around all the bolts, and the one around the outside, which in this case was cork. The one that came off of it was rubber, and again, it was like the rocker cover gasket. It was all kind of brittle and crumbling and falling apart, and all the bolt ones were really hard and kind of stuck in there. I had to twist a screwdriver in there to kind of twist them loose and pop them out. So that's all good. So we don't have to worry about any leaks here or any leaks here now. One more thing to mention is both of these covers, the torque spec on them is pretty low. And the reason why is, you see kind of how far these bolts are apart. They're not moving parts or anything, so they don't have to be super tight. So they only included so many bolts just to hold it on. If you tighten these too much, then you can kind of break the gasket or tighten it unevenly, where right here where the bolt is, it'll get really compressed, and right here where there isn't a bolt, it won't, and that can create leaks. And that's the same with this one down here. So if you're doing just by hand, just by feel, you just want it just snug, just so you know it's not coming undone, no more. If you want, I think the torque specs are somewhere around 8 or 10 pound-feet of torque. Really not that much. So that's another thing too, is it's a good place to check if you've got some oil leaks. Could just be those bolts have loosened up a little bit since the torque spec is so low. Anyway, these gaskets did need to be replaced. It looked like they were leaking. Now they shouldn't. I am still going to have oil coming out of this breather. That's one of those things that this truck originally would have had a breather that went back into the intake. Somebody's replaced it with one of these aftermarket ones that just kind of breathes out. Whenever I change the oil, I'll just have to clean up this rocker cover gasket right around here to prevent that from really coating the engine everywhere. The only gasket we have to do now is the oil pan, but like I said, I just changed the oil and I don't see any active major drips, so I'm going to leave it how it is, and I'm going to change that gasket next time I change the oil. Well, it's been a few days and the new speedometer cable arrived, so let's get it in the truck and see if we can get the speedometer finally working. Alright, that speedometer cable fits perfect. Got it all hooked up on both ends. Let's give the truck a spin, see if the speedometer works. Okay, moment of truth. I've got the camera pointed at the speedometer. Let's see if this thing actually moves. Works. Okay, so now I've got our speedometer here, which didn't end on 0. Might need to be lubricated or something. And then I've got a GPS speedometer here on my phone. We're going to go ahead and see how accurate this is. least so far. Let's try to get up near 30 miles an hour. Pretty dang close, if not right on. Well, as you can see, the speedometer works perfectly. It's accurate, it doesn't flop around, a little bit of bouncing, but it still tells us how fast we're going, which is the important part. The more important part is now the odometer will work, so I can record my mileage and do my maintenance at the correct intervals. That is the main reason why I wanted it fixed. Who knows how long it's been not working, so who knows how many miles are actually on this truck. Well, besides the fact that it's probably rolled over a few times. It's probably not 58,000. Well, we've got most everything mechanically worked out for the truck where I feel good driving it every day. I actually took it on the highway to a town adjacent to where I live earlier today, and it did just fine on the highway, actually really smooth, surprisingly. I thought it was going to be kind of a rattle trap, but no problems whatsoever, going all the way up to 70 miles an hour. So now that everything mechanical is taken care of, we can start working on cosmetic things and make this truck start to look a little bit better. It's a little rough looking. I mean, it's not horrible looking, and there's no super huge dents. I mean, except for the passenger side front fender, that's all bashed in. But for the most part, not bad. We have all this paint, though, that's chipping, and this truck has been resprayed a few times, so we've got different colors coming through. Makes the truck look a little ugly. The next installment is going to be more cosmetic, more things making this truck look like a nice truck instead of just running like a nice truck. Now, before I let you go, there's one last mystery we have to solve. And that mystery is this the original engine in this truck? There's a couple things that make me think this isn't the original engine. First off, this little block off plate here, that's to block off an old EGR valve thing. And then some of these vacuum lines down here off the intake that are all blocked off. That just wouldn't have come on this truck. The other thing is the carburetor originally had an auto choke, and this truck has a factory manual choke pull knob in the cab, so this truck wouldn't have come with auto choke, and I don't even know if it was an option in 68. Thankfully, my buddy Jim over at Jim's Fastback Garage, you should go check out his channel and subscribe to him because he's a cool dude. He sent me this, which helped me decode the casting number on the block of that engine. Now, here is the casting code on that engine block, and you can see it says D5, which according to Jim's decoder means that this engine is from 1975, not 1968. So this engine has definitely been replaced at some point. Also, it makes sense why there's EGR stuff that's blocked off on it, the auto choke, and the gray engine color, because in 1968 it probably would have been blue. The engine being replaced, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends on who you ask. Some people are going to say it's a bad thing because it's not original to the truck, so the truck isn't original. Some people are going to say it's a good thing because that means that the original engine blew up and they took care of the vehicle and replaced the engine. Personally, I don't really care. I just wanted a good working truck, so it's fine by me. Also, the 240 inline six, which originally came in this truck, they discontinued those somewhere around 1976 or 1977. I don't think they put them in trucks anymore or somewhere around there. And they were a lot less common in the 70s. So the likelihood that this is a 300 instead of a 240 just went way up. So yeah, 300 instead of a 240, that's a positive in my book. A little bit more power. Yeah. Well, I guess now I'll let you go. But big thanks to Jim's Fastback Garage. He really helped me on those date codes. Go subscribe to him. And big thank you to New Guy's Guitar, who supplied all the music for this awesome video and a lot of my videos. Go subscribe to him. And if you have a YouTube channel, email him and he'll let you use his music in your videos. So, until the next one.